Atlanta is known as the city too busy to hate. It's also known as a center for interfaith engagement. Atlanta is also growing in its role as an international city and is home to thousands of international students from all over the world. How Atlanta welcomes those young people and how those students bring the world closer to Atlanta are part of the focus of AIB's One World, including our intimate, ongoing portrait of the people behind AMI, the Atlanta Ministry with international students. In this episode, you'll meet a law professor from Uganda studying at Emory University. You'll meet her daughter and the Metro Atlanta woman who hosted them over the winter holiday. That and a taste of Atlanta's international cultural scene ahead on this edition of One World.
Boxes with snowmen.
Doris, who lives near Stone Mountain, is in her 80s. Adia from Uganda is 7. It's not likely they'd ever have met, but for AMI, the Atlanta Ministry with international students.
My husband and I, he was disabled, and my husband and I decided one time that we needed some outside interests, and we heard about it through church, and so we signed up for an Amigo, which is an international student studying here in Atlanta. And we did not get one assigned to us until after he died. I received a letter that said, "We are assigning you a young man from Siberia." So I called him and said, "Your introductory letter, I'm sure, says Mr. and Mrs. Hoenig." And I said, "Mr. Hoenig has died. Do you mind being my amigo?" And he said, no, he would love to. And so that was the beginning of my relationship with AMI and with the Amigos. I have had 21 Amigos, and I have had 17 International House, and after Sunday I will have had 2 more.
Okay, look for some more. See, is it the one? I think so. You think so?
Adia's mother, Zahara, is a law professor in Uganda. She's in Atlanta studying for an advanced law degree at Emory. She explains at length the gift of participating in the AMI Christmas International House program over her much-needed recent winter break.
The experience that I've had with the Atlanta Christmas International House has been something that's awesome. I think that's the way I can describe it. Because for me, I've lived in Emory, I've lived in Atlanta for 4 months, but I've learned more about the U.S. in the last 2 weeks than I've learned in the last 4 months of being here. I've met new people, both American families as well as students that I've interacted with from other countries. This experience has allowed me to share many different cultures. I've had 3 hosts. I've stayed in 3 different homes, and one of the homes included children. So I was able to gauge the experience of raising children within an African setting as well as within the American setting. And I've learned that, within the African setting, the way we raise children is like children are there to be seen, not to be heard. And what I learned from my experience with the Christmas International House is that children should be allowed to ask questions and should be involved. So for me, that was an important lesson. And really to be allowed to share, when someone invites you into her home, they let you see deep inside them. To be able to cook together, we prepared the Christmas meal together, we did the shopping together, we planned for meals together, we cleaned up together. It was very important for me. I was allowed to come for the Christmas International House with my 7-year-old daughter. It's her first time in the USA, actually outside of Uganda. So she's been able to see how other people live. And for me, that has been really important. At the international dinner, we were able to prepare the meal. So, of course, as much as I was preparing the meal from Uganda, I was looking to see how the Koreans are preparing the beef and the Chinese are doing this and the French are making the crepes. So I'm also taking back a lot of recipes that I'm going to try out. And then, when you come from Africa to the USA, you're still sort of, caught up within your own culture. For the last 4 months, I've been cooking the way I cook back in Africa, but I've come to share the different meals. I've been telling Doris, one of my hosts, that I'm going to be eating muffins, for the next maybe 2 or 3 months. So I've gotten introduced to some new things that I'm definitely going to take back, and it's definitely a very good experience for me. I've learned different languages, from the students. Well, not really like learned, but I can say a few words in Chinese, ni hao, and it's interesting. We had a good time. I've seen so many different places. We went to the Atlanta History Center, and there I really understood about the American Civil War. I've read it in books, but I'd never really understood, but I saw the pictures. And then, of course, someone who's very interested in history, we went to the Luther King Center. We went to the Jimmy Carter Center. All that history. You can't just read it in a book. It wouldn't be enough. It's been awesome. The Swan House, which is part of the Atlanta History Center, that was also good to sort of really learn, And it's amazing that the United States is sort of, it's a meeting point for many different people, many different cultures. Everybody comes and belongs. So it's not like one culture that is American. You can't say that. It's many different things, and everybody has to find a place where, they sort of melt into the whole culture. Must have a straight line. Could it be this one?
I study at Fernbank Elementary. I'm from Uganda.
What's it like when you tell your fellow classmates that you're from Uganda? Do they ask you any questions or what?
They ask me that, can you say a word in Uganda? But I say no, because I'm kind of afraid.
Really? What would you say if you weren't afraid?
I would say tree, or I would say lamp.
And the word for those in another language? Or?
Is Omuti Etala.
Those are beautiful words. Have you shared those with any of your friends? Have you?
Not yet, but I was planning to do that.
What do you think about Atlanta? Has it been fun being here?
Yes, Atlanta's been fun being here.
What have you done during Christmas International House that you found interesting?
Yes, that day when it was Christmas, when I was at my host, Barbara, and I thought Santa wasn't real, but it looks like he was real.
Wow, how so? Did you get some presents?
Yes, I got a lot of them.
Sounds cool. And as you've traveled around Atlanta during Christmas International House, what are some of the places you've liked?
I've liked Fernbank Museum. I've liked I've liked the Nutcracker.
All right, these are my friends from India. This is Hardik, and this is his wife, Hedda. And they came to visit me last May after they were married, and they gave me a box. I didn't know what was in it. And I said, oh, you know that I don't need anything. I don't need gifts. And when I opened it, I saw this beautiful silver frame. And then I said to them, but I do need something. I need your picture. So they went and printed off their picture from their wedding and put it in the picture frame and gave it to me. And I have lots of little things that my friends have given me. The elephant, of course, is from India. This is from Africa.
Adia and Zahara are part of a long list of Doris Hoenig's international friends made through the Ami Amigo and holiday hosting program.
Yeah, I hope I can remember them all. The first was Siberia, Mongolia, Taiwan, Japan, India, France. Then I had 3 boys from India. I have had 5 from India altogether. My last student last year was from South America, from Colombia, South America. It was actually her husband, who is here as a, not a student, but a scholar at Emory doing research. And of course, as a family, she and her husband, they were assigned to me as an amigo. And then she was from Hungary. No, Colombia, South America. This year I have one from Hungary and one from China. My and Singapore. Christmas International House were from Japan, China, Taiwan, Rwanda, Africa. Yes, and now from Uganda.
The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz.
It's people-to-people diplomacy, even one puzzle piece at a time.
We in Africa, I find that we study so much about the outside world. We'll know the different continents, the different peoples, the different regions. But sometimes when you meet people elsewhere, they tell you, is that a country? Is Uganda a country? They know so little. So it was definitely a chance to also share information about my country. And the international night was important for that because we're able to share with the hosts. And also in between, the students, the interactions, someone asks you, but you mean like Idi Amin, is he still the president? Because people always know the kind of information they get is what they're seeing in the news. So that's all they know about Idi Amin and HIV and the drought in Somalia and all those things. So it's an opportunity definitely to say that, we do this, we have the source of River Nile, and we also have good things happening. So yes, there's a lot of diplomacy that takes place.
I think the most important thing is that the news, world news, means so much more to me now as they talk about things that are happening in other parts of the world. And one prime example is my little friend Mari Okamaro, who lives in Japan. And when the earthquake and tsunami hit Japan, I immediately emailed to ask her if she was in any danger and if it had occurred anywhere near her. And she wrote and said no, that she was safe, her family was safe. She did have one aunt and uncle who lived in the north of Japan, and they were concerned about them. She said something very important. She said they had enough food and shelter, but she said they had no gasoline for their car, that they could not escape the area or leave the area. And I thought, you never think of that as a necessity if something should happen. So things like that are very important learning experiences to me. And this Christmas, she has sent me a Christmas card, and in it she talks about what she has done lately in Japan. She said, last month I visited the disaster area of the tsunami, which was caused on March 11th, 2011. I was very shocked by the terrible situation in the area. I volunteered with the tsunami relief for 3 days. We cooked food for supper and visited elder people who live in temporary housing to give them a free supper. I do believe I should do some more volunteering, so I will visit there again next year. Please pray for the disaster area of tsunami. And it is messages like this that touch me and say, we are all connected in the world, things that I had not thought of before.
The connection goes both ways.
For me, I think Christmas International House is really important. It's opened doors for me that I'd probably not be able to get elsewhere. A contact of an American person is something I wouldn't have been able to get. Someone to give you their address and say, give me a call if you need something. I go to school, I meet my supervisor, I meet his fellow students, and we are in a school community. It's a professional kind of life. But being able to, share, in someone's home and be able to know that, in case of something, I have a home that I can go to for the weekend, and it's really important. So it's opened up for me, I think, America. That's what I can say, that this experience for me has opened up America. I have somewhere to start. I have a local contact of an American, which would be hard for me to get elsewhere.
And Doris Hoenig, like each person or family, offers international visitors a unique view of America and being an American.
I think part of it that I think I might give to the students is because of my age and the experiences I have had in life. And you see, I was a child of the Depression, graduated at the end of the Second World War, put off my college education because my brother was returning from military service, had the GI Bill, and went to college. My parents could not afford to send both of us, so my college education was postponed. I married and had my children, and then went to college and got my degree and began teaching. I taught for 13 years. I have lived in various parts of the country. I was born in Ohio. We moved to Georgia when my husband was transferred here. He was then transferred to the San Francisco area, so we lived in California. And in retirement and his disability, we came back here to live. So I think that a lot of my life experience I have shared with these young people. I think of Roman, my first student in Siberia, and it was just after Don had died, so we talked a lot about him and what he meant in my life. And we were married 54 years, so I could explain to him what it meant to have a life partner. He went back to Siberia, found a very nice young lady, married her, and they now have a little girl. So I see some connection in all of these things. My friend Hardik in India one time asked me what he should look for in a mate, what qualities. And I immediately thought of what the qualities were in my relationship with my husband. And the first was that we shared something in common. It was music. I sang, he sang. In fact, he sang with a band for a while. So we both loved music, loved dancing. The second thing is joy. You must enjoy life. You must enjoy your partner. You must find joy in what you do. And the third thing was trust. You must be able to trust each other, because there are times when you will not be together. Circumstances may separate you, and you must always trust that that person is faithful. And those were the qualities I explained to him. In fact, the 3 boys from India call me Grandma. And that's the way I signed my email, Grandma Doris.
It's a chance for Adia to feel a connection to family she misses.
I miss the swimming pools there, and I miss my grandmother.
What's her name?
Mommy.
You call her grandmother?
Jaja.
Wow. All right. Well, maybe you can say hi to Jaja.
Hello, Jaja.
The images may be dark, but the sounds of the Ugandan children's numbers game enlightens the room as Adia and Zahara share a bit of their culture with their new friends. During the international dinner program that was part of the Christmas International House experience, each student had a chance to share something from his or her culture with all the AMI volunteers as well as fellow students. It's a chance to bust stereotypes